Good day, everyone. The Internet of Things has turned out to be a hot topic both in the academic as well as the industrial field. Before I demonstrate an IoT application to measure temperature and humidity remotely, I thought first perhaps it would be better just to give a quick overview of the manufacturers, of some of the manufacturers around the globe. These are examples of the manufacturers that deal with the system on chip for the Internet of Things applications. Those manufacturers are mainly based in the United States. Apart from the first one, the ARM is based in the UK. The Murata Electronics, based in Japan. The NXP Semiconductors in the Netherlands. And the rest pretty much in the United States, apart from the last one. Espressive Systems is based in Taiwan. Actually, the company is in Shanghai. It's a Chinese company, but they do manufacture their IoT Wi-Fi chips in Taiwan. The Wi-Fi module that I will be demonstrating for measuring temperature and the humidity remotely will be based on the ESP8266 Wi-Fi chip. And the ESP, as you can tell, it's the manufactured by the Espressive Systems. Of course, these manufacturers are not the only one. If you're interested in long-range IoT connectivity, you may need to look at the Link Labs, the Nimble Link, the Particle, and a few others like the Telit, the Sierra Wireless, and so on. And if you are interested in more sensor-focused IoT application, perhaps you look at the Monet, the Lebelium, Sensor Scientific, and so on. So the module that I will be using is the D1 Mini Pro. It's based on the ESP8266 Wi-Fi chip. If we visit the Espressive Systems website, under the product section, under the system on chips, you will find that the ESP8266 is one of the first released versions in 2014. It is a Wi-Fi enabled integrated circuit. It has a 16 general purpose IOs, and it has a support for different peripherals like the SPI, the serial peripheral interface, the integrated circuit protocol, and it has as well analog to digital converter in it. However, the ESP8266 has no Ethernet or touch sensor. It doesn't have a remote control access and lacks security features. The ESP8266 does not have a crypto tracker, and it does not support or have an onboard temperature sensor. The clock frequency for the ESP8266 is 80 MHz. The ESP8266 is a single-core 32-bit microcontroller. It doesn't have a ROM, it doesn't support CAN communication, doesn't have an Ethernet. It can support external SPI RAM up to 16 MB. That's why the ESP32 was released in 2016 as an upgrade for the ESP8266. It has a 34 general purpose IOs and has a clock frequency of 160 MHz or even 240 MHz. One of the beneficial features for the ESP32, it does support a secure platform for the Internet of Things. Also, it's a 32-bit dual core, and it has an ultra-low power processor. One of the interesting feature that it has a temperature sensor on board. Also, it has a touch sensor and gives you a remote access control. If you ever come across the ESP8265, This actually is very similar to the 8266. The only difference between these two is that the 8285 has an extra of 1 megabytes of flash. The ESP8285 was released around 2016. One of the advantages of the ESP32 over the ESP8266 is that the ESP32 has a Bluetooth module in it. It has an Ethernet connection, whereas the ESP8266, it doesn't have any of those. In addition, when it comes to the interfaces, the ESP32 has a 3 UART. It has 4 serial peripheral interfaces, whereas the ESP8266 has 2 of each. When it comes to the PWM, the pulse width modulated signal, the ESP32 has 8, whereas the ESP8266 has none. And when it comes to the analog to digital conversion, the ESP32 is a 12-bit, whereas the ESP8266 is only 10 bits. After 2016, various versions of the ESP32 were released, such as the H series, the C series, and the S series. For example, the C3 series, this was released in 2020. The ESP32C3 it's a pin compatible with the ESP8266. It has around 400 kilobyte of SRAM, and it has a 384 kilobyte of flash built in. More interesting as well, the S2 series perhaps was released in 2019. This has a built-in features for a camera and LCD and so on. So the type of your Internet of Things application will dictate for you which module is best for you. In my case, I have already the ESP8266. In my case, I have already the D1 Mini Pro based on the ESP8266. There are many type of modules based on this chip, so let's have a look. These are some of the pinout of different versions for the ESP8266 modules. They start from the ESP01 all the way to the ESP14. The ESP07 and the ESP12 seem to be identical, except that the ESP07 has a ceramic antenna, whereas the ESP12 has a printed circuit board antenna. And the ESP12, they comes in versions of 12E or F. And the ESP14, which claims in this writing here that there is an 8-bit microcontroller in it. And the pipes and pins of this microcontroller is connected to most of the external pins. As I understand it, those pins won't be accessible within the Espruino. At the moment, there are a wide variety of development boards with the ESP8266 chip. They differ mainly in the number of general purpose IOs, the size, the form factor, and so on. The most widely used ESP8266 boards are the ESP01 and the ESP12. E is the very common one, and you have the Node MCU kit and the WeMOS D1 Mini. WeMOS D1 Mini. Now, from experience, I found that the Node MCU kits are more stable for the IoT applications. So if you have one of those, that will be great. The others still work okay. In my case, since I have already the WeMOS D1 Mini Pro, I will be using this version. We're gonna be measuring temperature and humidity remotely via a MQTT platform, Things to Speak, and get the information on the mobile phone using the Things view. Alright, I'll see you in the next video.